Okay, good evening, class. We are going to have a very quick tutorial on the beginning of the writing process for a history essay. And what we're going to focus on this evening is the opening paragraph. And I'm going to try to walk you through a very simple way to write a very clean, very precise opening paragraph that will work for any type of quick essay type assignment, such as a test, where you don't have a chance to really sit down and do a lot of planning. The questions on the board, and you have to go answer it. And so, what we're going to do today is this evening is work on the opening paragraph, and um, a good solid opening paragraph for a history essay is going to have four parts. And I'm going to teach you a very simple way to accomplish this. And this is going to be kind of writing by the numbers. Okay. Now, in many history essays, you're having to express an opinion. And the first sentence that you have to put down in your opening paragraph, number one, is going to be your position. For example, something we were working on a day or two in class was the effect of the Black Death on Europe. And the proposition was stated that the Black Death, in the end, is going to create a situation that is going to allow the economic conditions to emerge that will create the Renaissance, support the statement or refute it. And your first sentence either has to be to support the statement or to refute. And so I would choose to support that. And so my very first sentence is going to say the Black Death created in the long run the economic conditions that would lead to um, the Renaissance and help pull Europe out of the Dark Ages. Um, that would be my position. Now, the second part of the opening paragraph is going to state the opposite position. You simply acknowledge that there is an opposite position. Many people believe that other events and other conditions um, had a greater effect in driving Europe away from the Dark Ages and causing a great cultural and economic revival of Europe. You simply acknowledge that there is another position. You have your opinion, and notice I didn't use the word I. You, as a student, have done the research, so you say definitively, definitely, that the Black Death did create the economic conditions in the long run that would lead to a revival of Europe, a Renaissance. Okay, so we got the first part, you're making your statement. Your second part, you're acknowledging that there is another position. Simply acknowledge it. All right, now your third part, the third thing that you're going to do to write a good opening paragraph is you're going to, in a sentence or two, you need to give historical context. What was going on in Europe at the time of the Black Death? What was Europe like? So you could mention things such as feudalism. You could talk about how that Europe was a feudal society. You can talk about the Catholic Church being the most powerful entity um, throughout Europe. You can, talk about the Great Chain of Being, um, the filthiness, the life expectancy, the literacy rate being virtually non-existent. And see, these are some things that you could definitely talk about as far as historical context. You need to tell the reader what Europe was like. Now, your fourth part of the essay is probably the most important, especially if you're in an AP class, and that is your thesis sentence. Now, a thesis sentence um, is very, very simple. It is a sentence that creates the categories that support your initial claim in the first sentence. So, why did the Black Death create the economic environment that will allow for a rebirth of culture in Europe? So, you need to give me reasons why. And each of those reasons will then become the sections of your essay. So, for example, um, you had a large number of people in Europe die because of Black Death. I mean, a third to half, depending on where you are in Europe, of the population is going to die. They're not going to make it. So, um, a third of those people are going to die, but yet Europe will be left with the same amount of resources, but with fewer people. And so, therefore, that's going to create an environment in a very simple way that will allow for a higher standard of living. So, that would be your first category. Talk about the mass die off and then leaving more resources for the survivors who are left. Now, the second reason that you could put for the Black Death being beneficial in the long run is it creates a system in which, or an environment in which labor now becomes scarce and landlords and nobles are no longer able to simply force peasants to work on the land and make them into serfs. Serfs, somebody that's tied to the land, they can't move. And so, if labor is scarce and the person that you're working for does not pay you well, you can simply pack up and head down the road to another nobleman who has a better grasp of the new economic situation, which means they need to pay you wages. And those wages need to be better. And so we have two very simple reasons. And so those will be the two sections of my essay. And so just to recap very quickly, your first sentence is where you take a position. The Black Death either did or did not help Europe in the long run. So we say it did. Second, acknowledge the other side in a sense. Third, create historical context. What is being what can you say to help the reader understand in a very, very simple way what Europe was like at that time? And then finally, you create a thesis. You set up categories that will become the sections of the main body. And I hope this was at least somewhat helpful. And for those of y'all who are doing this virtually, this is interesting times. We're trying to do an AP class, advanced placement class, through your Acellus program that you're working on, and me emailing you, and then y'all jumping into class using Google Meet. So we're going to get this done. We're in this together. Okay. So anyway, I hope this was helpful, and I'll post another video here soon. So good night and bye from my kitchen.